Thanks a million, Anya. So my name is Emer Barry, and my colleague Shane Prendergast and Conor Edgely will also be presenting to you this morning. So just a few quick housekeeping things first. So this event is being recorded. All attendees are muted and you have your cameras off. Any questions can be submitted by clicking in the Q&A bubble, which is down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. All questions will be answered at the end of the event, and the recording and the slides will be distributed also after the event, and we will put together an FAQ of the questions that have been submitted and share that. So just to quickly run through our agenda, Shane's going to take you through a live demo, just how to submit an application, just to make sure everyone's up to speed on it. I'll run through which each status means. We'll look at some of the issues we've had with applications, and we'll have a quick chat about our Energy Academy training. And then Shane will look at our demand generation work that's ongoing, and then Conor's going to take you through some charging infrastructure updates, and then we'll go through our Q&A. So I'm going to pass you over to Shane now to do the live demo of an EV grant.
Thank you very much, Emer. So I'm just going to share my screen now in the moment to bring up the grant system itself so it can take you through how to submit a grant application, how to submit your payment request with your transaction document and your invoice. We also have some very useful how-to videos on our website, which you're probably all familiar with now. I just have to... Anya, could I get access to share my screen, please? Just having a little bit of trouble. There's always a technical glitch when you're doing something like this. Just waiting for the permissions, and there we go. Thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully you'll all be able to see it now in a moment. So, as you're all aware, this is the login screen for the dealership grant application on online facility. So you enter your username, which is, it's your unique identifier, it's your supplier ID number, it's a 5-digit number, and then you enter your password. Hopefully I've entered that correctly. You log in and you're brought to your home screen. So as you can see what comes up on your home screen. You have your dealer details and your list of EV grant applications is there. And in the top left corner here, you have your menu on the sidebar, which is very important because you can see your account details. If you need to update your insurances, you can search what grant applications you already have in place, and you can click grant application to make a new grant application. So that's what we're going to do now. So you select the name of your sales staff. You select, has the vehicle been previously registered? If it has, you won't be able to proceed. So it's only for new unregistered vehicles that you can receive grant aid. You have 3 types of customer details. You have demo, and this is for your own demonstration vehicles, your test drive models. You have commercial if you're selling a category N1 vehicle to a commercial entity, and you have private then if you're selling to a private individual. So for this demonstration, I'm just going to select private. Then you enter in customer name, you enter in their home address. I'm just going to make one up today. Select your county from the drop-down list then. So the contact email address of the customer is entered in here. So I'm just going to put in a random email address and the daytime contact number of your customer as well. So it's important that the contact email address and the daytime contact number are those of your customer and not yourself. So then to move to the next screen, this is the first screen of 5. You can click next in the bottom right corner here, or this arrow. As you can see, that will have saved the first section of your grant application and bring you to the section 2, which is reference to the charging. So there's a number of questions here you need to select. So how do you propose to charge your vehicle? Is it ESP e-cars or is it other? So if you select other, you need to specify, and you can type into the entry box there. Are you the property owner or the tenant? So if you're the owner, these 2 questions do disappear. If you're the tenant or the resident, it just means you need to get permission from the bill payer to allow access to the electricity consumption data and to fit the charge point itself. So I'm going to select the owner for this one. Then you have to enter the meter point reference number, the MPRN number, which is an 11-digit number. That's found at the top of most electricity bills that are out there. This field is actually constrained, so it will only accept 11 digits. Then you need to select your electricity supplier. So you can enter also here the name of the electricity bill owner if that is different from the customer. But seeing as I've selected owner, I won't enter it this time. And again, to proceed, you can click next or the arrow, and that again has saved the next screen and brings you to your vehicle. So from your drop-down menu, select what vehicle you're selling to your customer. Is there a displaced vehicle? So what we mean by displaced vehicle is there a vehicle that's been replaced essentially by the electric vehicle. So if you select yes, you're asked to pick your manufacturer, your model, your engine size, your fuel, and what is the estimated mileage, all from drop-down menus. If it is not, you just select no and you don't have to enter anything else on this screen. So we'll click next again. And again, the system has saved the grant application so far, and we're now on to section 4 price. So the green boxes here are dealer entry, and the blue ones here, they're actually automatically calculated. So your vehicle starting price, so this is the price your vehicle that includes VAT, includes VRT, delivery charges, any optional extras, metallic paint, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't cover the grant amount. So this is pre the grant amount being applied to the price. So I'm going to put in 55,000 for this one. So you can see we've already seen that automatic population down here. Is there a cash discount applicable? This does not include any trade-in vehicle amount. So I'm going to put in €500 for a cash discount. And then you need to enter the final vehicle price to the customer. So this needs to match what is on the invoice. So I put in, say, 20,000 there. You will see that there's other deductions has been auto-populated as 29,500. So I'm actually going to change that up again, and you can see how it reacts. And this kind of covers your VRT relief and other items such as that. So I'm going to click next again here. And again, it's saved and you're onto the final screen, your submit screen. So this is where you need to print your application form. So if you just click the button there, as you can see, it will download. It's a little bit slow downloading on my computer at the moment. And to proceed then, once you have your application form printed, you have it signed and dated by yourself and your customer, and attach the application form here. So I'm just going to choose file. I'm going to go to where I have one previously made up, and I'm just going to attach it there. And then I am going to click the save button, which means you're now in a position to submit your grant application. But please note that by clicking submit, you are confirming that both you and the customer have signed and dated the application form. So you do need to check that. And that if it is a private vehicle application, the deposit amount on the application form is a non-zero amount. These are two critical items that you need to check. So you can click submit grant application, or you can click the green arrow here as well. And then you get your pop-ups. So you select OK. And there should be another one then that just tells you you've successfully submitted your grant application. You'll receive a confirmation by email about that submission. So if you scroll down on your home page, then you will see this is the new one that has been added to the bottom. And as you can see, it's already been gone to letter of offer accepted. And you'll have received the grant offer via email as well to your registered email address. So that is how you submit a grant application. So now I'm going to bring you through a payment request as well. So there's one I prepared earlier. So you can access it down here. You can see this is the one we're looking for. So I'm just going to take you through the grant application search page here. As you can see, here's the one we're going to deal with. So you have your action column over here, and you have your drop down arrow. So you can view your application form, you can view your letter of offer, but to submit a payment request, you need to select register vehicle. So you get your pop-up screen here and you're asked for your vehicle registration. So I'm just going to enter it here, and your vehicle handover date. So I'm going to select today's date. So from here, you need to print your transaction documents. So you can click on that, and again, it will download similar to the application form earlier. And you can attach your transaction document then once you have signed and dated the transaction documents and your customer signed and dated the transaction document. So I prepared one earlier, so I'm going to click attach transaction document. I'm going to go to where I had saved the transaction document and my name and convention, and I'm going to select it there. So you can see it's been uploaded, and I'm going to click save. And then don't forget you need to upload your invoice or your proof of payment as well. So I'm going to click on that one. And again, you need to browse to where you've saved your invoice for the transaction in question and the deal in question. And you select it, it has been uploaded, and you click save again. So when you've that done, click OK. And as you can see, this grant application has now moved from letter of offer accepted to registration pending. So the system is now performing its automatic checks in the background. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, as that's the end of the live demo, and I'm going to pass you back to Emer.
Thanks, Shane. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide. So I'm going to look at the different application statuses. So you saw a lot of them there on the demo that Shane did. So just to explain them all to you very briefly, and these are all also available online. So application in progress by dealer is when you've started the application as a dealer, but you haven't submitted it yet. And then the dealer can cancel this application at any time. So to cancel an application, you go over to that drop down on the right hand side and it'll give you an option to edit or delete the application if you haven't submitted it. Then it'll go to letter of offer accepted. So that means the grant is now active. So the application is approved automatically now. So within a few minutes of submitting it, you should get approval, which means you can now register the vehicle on the same day as you do the application. When it's at registration pending, you've uploaded the transaction document and the invoice as Shane showed you, and checks are being done on the system to make sure that it's taxed and registered within the dates of the grant offer. It'll do that for 10 days, so it'll check it for 10 days. When it goes to verified, it means those checks have been done and the grant has been, the vehicle has been registered and taxed within the grant offer window, and it'll go to verified. When it gets to registration approved, it means SEAI have reviewed all the documentation you've submitted, which is your application form, your transaction document, and your invoice, and have moved it along. At awaiting payment, we're just doing one final check and verification prior to payment. And when it gets to paid, it means we've issued the payment instruction for the grant. So this may take a couple of days from when it goes to paid to when you receive your remittance email. And once you get your remittance email, the funds have been transferred to your account. So that's the status if it all goes fine and there's no issue with the grant. If there's an issue with the application, you would get one of these 2 or 3 application statuses. So if it says resubmit registration, it means there's an issue with the details of the grant application and the vehicle registered. So it requires an intervention by you as a dealer. You will get an email telling you what you need to do. So please read this email and it will go to the email address registered on the system. If it's at failed, it means the grant payment application has failed. And you'll also get an email telling you why, and that could be for a few reasons. One, that it's registered before or after the grant offer is in place, or it's taxed outside that time. So there's a few reasons why. And then if it's cancelled, there's 2 reasons it'll be cancelled. One, the grant will get to the expiry date without you submitting an invoice or a transaction document, so it'll automatically cancel on that date. Or you as a dealer have requested SEAI to cancel it for whatever reason, if it's duplicate or wrong stack code. If at any point you're unsure as to what's going on, please stop and contact SEAI, contact our EV Grant Scheme email address. So then just some issues. Now, I've say in the last while, applications have improved hugely, and I think some of that's down to our automatic grant approval, but these are some of the issues we still come across. So the customer signature on the application form and the transaction document don't match. So the customer should be signing both of those documents because they're legal documents. So an electronic email, an electronic signature is fine, but they need to be signed by the customer and they should match, and we will reject them if they're not matching. There may be pages missing from the application form, so when you scan it in, you might forget a page. The vehicle cost and the application form and the invoice don't match. So Shane showed you there how to submit the costs, make sure that that matches on the invoice, and that's what the customer is paying. The SEAI grant may not be shown on the invoice, so make sure that's always clear. There may be no deposit amount on a private grant, so please ensure that there's always a deposit amount on a private grant. Either the VAT amount is not on the invoice or the VAT number is not on the invoice. These should be always clear. There may be incorrect documents attached, so you may I know a lot of you do a huge number of applications, so you may just add the wrong customer to the file, so make sure you're adding the right documentation. The stack code applied for may be different to the stack code registered, so make sure you're putting in the right stack code. Documents sometimes are not clearly scanned, so we can't actually read them, so please make sure that they're clear to read. And as I say, the vehicle may be registered prior to the grant approval or taxed after the grant approval ends. So make sure that it's done within that grant offer. And then finally, you might have the wrong registration type. So if it's a private vehicle, it could be registered as company, or if it could be a demo that's not registered as garage. So make sure that you always register them correctly. And then just email notifications. There is one email address attached to each account. Please make sure that this is a monitored email. Read the email notification. It'll tell you why the grant has failed. You'll also get a notification when you have approval into that email address, and that's where the remittance advice goes when the payment is made. So everything goes to one central email address. If you ever need to update it, please email us at this address. and from the email that's currently on the system. But if you can't, please send us an email on headed paper with your ID and the existing email address, and the new one it needs to be changed to. So then just briefly on our Energy Academy. Now, some of you may have seen this before, may have actually done the module at this stage. The SEAI Energy Academy is a free online learning tool for businesses. If you are registering on it, please register as an EV dealer. There is an option of an EV dealer in the drop-down, and you will automatically be assigned the EV dealer training. This training takes about 20-25 minutes to do, and it takes you through how to do an application, how to register as a dealer, how to put in a payment, and some of the issues we've been having. So please do log on and go through it. It is our main training for yourselves as dealers. There is other things on that might be of interest to you on saving energy in your business and other things you can do. So there's loads of other online tools and short webinars that you can do online that can help you save energy within your company. And now I'm going to pass back over to Shane on the demand generation activities.
Thanks for that, Emer. So I just wanted to talk to you about some of the other items that we have ongoing apart from our grant scheme as well. So as a lot of you will be aware, this year 2022, we released the inaugural year of our Dealership of the Year award scheme. So so far in 2023, we have closed the applications already for the next year award, and we've received 125 applications. As you might be aware, the assessment of the dealerships is underway, and it includes assessment of sales figures, assessment of the website, assessment of the training provided to your staff members, and assessment, and then we will also mystery shop the dealerships that have registered to evaluate the customer experience in each dealership. So there is a little change to the 2023 award as well. Every county will receive a winner provided there is a dealership in that county that is registered and achieved at least the minimum scores required. We're going to introduce a regional award. So this is going to be Munster, Connacht, Ulster and Leinster. So essentially there'll be a new level of awards where there'll be 4 provincial winners. Those 4 provincial winners will make the shortlist then for who we will select as the national winner. And the regional winners will be invited to our flagship energy show in March, where we will announce the national winner from the shortlist of 4. So as you can see, there's some images from last year where you've Dealership of the Year national winner, the plaque is there, and some of the presentation from our energy show last year as well. So you might have also heard that we're in the process of running an EV commercial fleet trial, which is where we're going to provide the use of an EV to 200 businesses. All businesses will be offered a charge point, which will be supported by SEAI as well. And we're undertaking this essentially to see and provide real world evidence for commercial businesses that EVs are suitable and they are feasible for them. So once this is complete, we will be releasing the data in a report after it, and we'll be running some case studies and some blogs with the participants as we go along through it. So as you can see, there's the spec of the vehicles that we are trying to procure to put into the fleet trial, and we will have the first tranche of vehicles will be on wheels on the ground at the 29th of this month, with the remainder to come in January 2023. So as you probably all heard of, we do have our total cost of ownership comparison calculator, and we also have a journey cost comparison calculator on our website as well. This is an extremely useful tool that you could use to enhance any of your interactions with your customers, as it can give a personalized feel to showing what kind of savings could be made by making the switch to electric. Here are some of the screenshots of what the results you can get. You can see the annual energy costs where you compare 3 electric vehicles, excuse me, to a comparable internal combustion engine vehicle. And we take this further by providing a 10-year total cost of ownership as well. So you can see below those graphs, then you will have a table which will show you the fuel type, the total cost of ownership, the price, annual energy cost, electric range, and tailpipe emissions of the vehicles you've selected. Excuse me. And there are 2 call to actions then. You can find the dealer through our dealer map, where all our registered dealers are present on our dealer map on our website, and you can go into further card details on each of the EVs that you have tried to compare. So there is some notes and assumptions you need to take into account, and they can be accessed on the website as well in the assumptions sector. I do want to bring to your attention that we will be offering a new total cost of ownership pilot is probably the best word to call it, where we're going to offer free of charge to any motor industry business with a website, any website at all, to embed our TCO calculator into their own website. So your customers will then be able to compare EVs with internal combustion engines without having to leave your website. If you don't already have a calculator on your website, we can, if you're interested in this, please feel free to reach out to evgrandscheme@seai.ie. We'll be looking at trialing this probably in the next couple of months with a number of different websites to ensure that it is going to work correctly for when we do the big release of it. So we will also link you in with our developers, and there will be essentially two options we're going to put out there. So one is your simple option, which is the simplified version of the calculator, and we can embed it on your website, and it'll be just a simplified version where you can select the vehicles manually and compare them. But there will also be a more enhanced version as well, whereby there can be development done which will pass from your website into this tool and will auto-populate vehicle selection and the likes. So if there is development needed on the complex kind of enhanced solution, that will be done at your own cost. We will provide the tool, but if you need to pass data into our tool and you need development, we will not be covering the cost of that. The tool, as I said, the tool itself will be provided free of cost, and we will provide instructions to your developers if you have them for a website on how that you can include and embed this on our website. We'll also make our developers available to answer any questions you may have on the matter, and this is open to all dealerships and all stakeholders across the motor industry and further afield. As I mentioned, we are going to trial in early 2023, so if you're interested in trialing this with us, please feel free to contact us on any of our email addresses or the EV Grant Scheme email address directly. But please ensure you include information like, do you own your own website? Do you manage and operate the website yourself? And do you use JATO to populate your vehicle information, or who do you use to populate your vehicle information? So my email address is there, but you can contact any of us directly to be included in this trial. So I'm going to pass you over to my colleague, Conor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shane. Hello, everyone. Hope you're still all with us. Hope your energy and attention levels haven't started to dip yet, and if they did, don't worry. This section should get you fully charged again. So, charging infrastructure can easily be broken up into 4 main categories. A lot of us will have the benefit of being able to charge our car at home, but for those that don't, you need to avail of the other 3 categories, which are destination chargers, that's gyms, hotels, shopping centres, on-street charging, which is being provided by a bunch of different people at the minute, which is great to see them expanding, and fast and rapid charging. Good news is that SEAI and ZEVI are here to support no matter which way you need to charge your car. There's the home charger program, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. I'll touch on that again in a few minutes. There's the apartment charging program, which can offer 60 to 90% of all infrastructure costs, which is open for applications now. There's the public charger program, which is on-street residential parking that's supported by local authorities. And stay tuned for the destination charger grant, which ZEVI is working on at the minute to be rolled out in 2023. Going back to the home charger application, there's been a few changes in that recently. Just in case you're not aware, anyone can apply for a home charger grant now, whether they have an EV or not. It's an online application and it's valid for 6 months. For dealers who are selling EVs, you can't do the application online for the customer. All applications have to be done by the individual. If the dealers do them, they will be rejected. Then the other important thing to consider is to get a grant next year, it will have to be a smart charger. Only smart chargers are being supported from January 2023. If you've any questions or you want any more information on this, the EV chargers at seai.ie email address is there. Drop us an email and we'll get back to you. There's also the low emission vehicles toll incentives. This is something not everyone, I don't think, takes advantage of. It's an opt-in scheme. You have to have a toll tag, and then you have to tell your toll tag company that you have an EV. If you do those 2 steps, it's worth a phone call. You can save up to 75% on certain tolls around the country. As we're all suffering in the cost of living crisis, inflation, no one is immune from it. We just wanted to raise a couple of items with yourselves that may be of help to you in these difficult times. There's the energy support audits for business, where if you've got an annual energy bill of over €10,000, we will give you a €2,000 energy audit voucher, where an SEAI registered assessor will come out and look at your business, how it's operating, where the energy is being spent, where efficiencies can be improved, and advise you. Then the second thing we wanted to raise with you is the non-domestic microgen grant. This is an excellent incentive. This can give you up to €2,400 towards the installation of solar PV. A lot of you guys are in work during the day. None of you like to work too late in the evenings. So this could be right up your street for really reducing those energy bills. It's on arrays up to 6 kilowatts, which is usually 16 panels or 25 meters squared. That's plenty to put a serious dent in most of your energy bills, I'd imagine. And that brings us to, or finally, if you do want any more information on that, it's if you go to the SEAI.ie/business page, you'll find all the information there. If you want to reach out to us, we're happy to point you in the right direction as well. Which brings us to a close. If anyone has any further questions, it's been pretty quiet on the Q&A page. So if anyone wants to jump in at this stage, you're more than welcome.
Thanks, Conor. No questions there just yet.
That's a good sign.
Or everyone's left.
We've put everyone asleep, maybe. We'll stay on here for another few minutes to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to raise or any items they'd like to talk about or ask us to have a discussion on. Feel free. The 3 of us are here for the next however long we need to be to answer all the questions you may have. So there's a Q&A bubble in the bottom right corner of your screen, so feel free to submit any of the questions you wish, and you can send them in privately to one of us, or you can send them in publicly to all of us. So don't be shy and feel free to ask as many questions as you want. In the meantime, there's probably a couple of items I could possibly run through as well that are essentially going to be upcoming items, and at the moment you're probably aware that we are in the process of designing a large panel van grant addition. So we are in the development stage of that, and our expectation is to have that offering ready to roll in January 2023. So as soon as we have dates when it's going to be live and we have the actual details of exactly what it is going to look like, we will send communication to all of yourselves to let you know about that. And I can see that there's some questions coming in there. So Conor, if you want to throw a couple out of us.
Donnie's just wondering if the webinar will be available in PDF. Absolutely, we can make that available to you.
Yeah, just to say the webinar will be sent, the recording will be sent to all participants at probably might be tomorrow or Monday, and it'll be also put up on our website, so you'll be able to catch up if you've missed any at the start.
Melda's asking, when an application is cancelled due to late delivery of a car, can I use a previous signed application form?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think because the application form may have been signed and then a new application form has to be put in, what I would suggest you do, because your customer would have signed the second page, is that the second page won't change, that you could scan in the first page of the new application form, the new application number, and the signed document from your customer of the second page. So you probably need to scan the other one, scan them together. because if you put the old application form in on a new application submission, we will send it back to you because the application form doesn't match. But you could put the two together.
And Dolores Tobin wants to know, when applying for the grant, is a trade-in value entered at any stage in the application?
Presently, no, it's not. As I said, there is a cash discount in the pricing section, which I ran through during the demo, and this actually excludes a trade-in value. Now, we do know that the trade-in value will be covered on the invoice, so you could actually have it covered in the other deduction section, but it wouldn't be called out as a trade-in value. So the main thing is that the final price to the customer on the application form in the pricing detail section matches what is the same price, what is the equivalent price to the customer on the invoice as well.
Porrick wants to know, how do I see total grants claimed as a business over 3 years?
As a business or as a dealership. So if you go into your homepage, you can go into your grant application search screen, and you can actually extract that information into an Excel file, which you can then sort by the date approved, and the expiry date and the date paid. So you'll be able to check how much in a calendar year or in 2 or 3 calendar years you've received, but you would also be sorting by the applications by the ones given to your own dealerships. Anyway, I feel that is probably in relation to the de minimis state aid rule that we operate under. And don't worry, because we actually have an inbuilt de minimis calculator on our grant system. And as soon as you get to within 5 grants of hitting the ceiling on your de minimis, you will get a pop-up, not a warning, but an alert that will tell you you're 5 grants away from hitting your de minimis ceiling. And you'll get an alert of 4 grants, 3 grants, 2 grants, 1 grant. And then when you hit your ceiling, you will also get a pop-up warning that will tell you you're no longer allowed, you can no longer in the current calendar year make grant applications under that VAT number. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Sarah Barr's got a good question, especially with a lot of people expecting delays in the cars as they're landing. If there's a delay in the vehicle being delivered to us with only a couple of weeks left in the application, should we submit a new application and wait for the other one to expire?
Yes, you should. So if you have information that's saying the delivery date of the vehicle has actually been delayed and it's past the expiry date of the grant application, first thing you do is you cancel the current grant application that's there, and then you submit a new grant application. And as Emer alluded to earlier, you can actually use the second page of your application form, but you do need to complete a new application as well.
Jay Davey wants to know, what's the procedure if the stat code is different to the stat code registered?
Emer, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I suppose if the stat code is different, you may need to cancel the original application, put in a new one. But if it's, say it's an ID4, for example, that you're registering and you've one stat code and you've registered for one type of ID4, but then the customer decided, actually I wanted a slightly different model, the system should be able to deal with that. So that's fine, as long as you're not changing a model. So if you're not saying, I'm going to apply for an ID4, I'm actually going to register an ID3, then the system will have an issue with that. So if you're staying within the same model of vehicle, the system should be able to deal with that. And so it's one of the questions you're just asking about an invoice, Conor. We can send you the template, but there is the sample invoice is on the dealer section of the SEAI website as well under the EV grant. So you can find a sample invoice there and all the other documents you might need. Sorry, Conor.
That's fine. Surprisingly, there's only one person so far come in with this question. That's very kind of you not to batter us with it. Are there any hints on how much grants will be reduced by in July? Will it still be the case where if you apply before the 20th of June, your customer can get the full €5,000 grant?
Yeah, so I might take that one. Unfortunately, we don't have any hints on what exactly the reduction that was announced in the budget is going to look like. We do know that it will possibly look at what actually happens between now and say the end of January. So in the early new year, we'll be hopeful to have a lot more details on this that we could share with you. And what I would say is at the moment, if you submit a grant application for the €5,000 grant, it will be honoured at the €5,000 grant. There will be plenty of early communications on when we know what the changes are and what it's going to look like, and we will explain it in detail to the dealership network. We will be sending circulars and we will keep you well informed of that. But as I said, if you're submitting a grant application at the moment for €5,000, it will be honoured at that value.
Thanks, Shane. There's a question coming in from Derek, and Haley Black's asking a similar question. Derek wants to know what's the time scale permitted between the application and registering the vehicle. And Haley wants to know, can she apply for the grant and register the vehicle in the same day as the letter of offer?
Yeah. So if you apply for a vehicle today, the 10th or the 11th, and you register a vehicle today, the 10th, 11th, that's fine. There's no issue with that. Once it's not before today's date or the date of the start of your grant. You have 4 months from the letter of offer to the expiry of the grant in which to register and tax that vehicle. And if you do it on the first day of the grant, that's fine. And if it's taxed on the last day of the grant, that's fine too, but it has to be within that 4-month period. So the reason we put in the automatic approval of the grant is to make it a quicker sale for your customer, to bring it on par with selling a nice vehicle, and that you can do the deal with the customer and sell the car and do everything on the one day and not have them to come back 2 weeks later to get their car.
Thank you. Amelia Hoyland wants to know, how long does the appeal process take when a dealer is penalised for vehicle registration before letter of offer?
So do you want to take that one, Shane?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So there was a time when the appeals process was a little bit lengthy with us, but we have been endeavouring in recent times to reduce that timeline from when an appeal is received by us to when it is actioned and a decision letter is issued. So I would estimate at the moment for a decision letter, you could be looking at 2 to 4 weeks. I think that would be fair enough, Emer.
Yeah, we do endeavour to get them done within 15 days, 15 working days from when they come into us. So, yeah.
Another one in the theme of lead times. If an application is made in 2022, but the vehicle is being registered in 2023, will the application still be valid, or will they need to reapply?
Yeah, I'll take that one as well. So there's probably 2 answers to this one as well, because the budget that we use to provide the grants operates, we get information on that through the budget itself on a yearly basis. So from the 1st of September each year, we apply an end cap on the grant offers. So that means from the 1st of September onwards, the grant offer expiry date is set at the 31st of December of that calendar year. It is only when we receive the level of budget and instructions from the national budget that we can actually open up for the following year. So that's when we remove the end cap and we reinstate the 4-month grant window. So if you've a grant offer there that has an expiry date of the 31st of December of that calendar year, no, it will not be valid in the following year. However, if you have a grant offer that has an expiry date from after we remove the end cap, it would be, say, a 2023 expiry date. So that would be fine.
Yes, just check your expiry dates on your grants before you register your vehicle, I'd say. Make sure they're correct.
Imelda's got a question. She had difficulty registering a Pro Ace on the SEAI as a customer name, but vehicle was registered on revenue in the company name. When entering the application, she had to add as a customer name and not the company name. Should she have entered on the SEAI grant as a company and not the customer?
Yeah, I can take that as well, and I try and understand what she's actually asking there, because I'm presuming it's to do with the company name is registered on revenue, but she used an actual name within the company. So one of the company's staff names, I presume, when entering the SEAI grant. That is okay, and we can work with that, provided it is selected as a commercial grant for the Pro Ace. It is a contact name for the company that's involved with it. It's a contact phone number for the company that's involved with it, and the vehicle is registered and taxed to the company and registered and taxed commercially. We should be able to process that on our system.
Kathy wants to know, what's the ceiling on the total grant allowed to dealers?
Yep, so that is €200,000 in in a 3-year period. So that's the de minimis state aid rule, and that doesn't solely encompass the EV grant scheme. It is also any state funds that you've received in those 3 years.
Thank you. Stephen Cogsgrave wants to know, for a demo vehicle application, should the final cost / invoice amount include the demo discount / rebate from the manufacturer?
So for the demo vehicle, your starting price will be what the vehicle is going to cost. Then you would take off, if there's a cash discount, you would take that off. The grant would be taken off, and then you have your other deductions field. So if there is, say, a particular manufacturer's discount, that should be contained there on the application form. So the final price the dealership is actually paying for the demo is the final price, the final vehicle price to the customer in the application form, and that does need to match what is called out on the invoice as well. So I would say you put that discount into the other deductions. Now, the other deductions is automatically calculated on our grant system. So essentially, it's very important you are accurate with your final vehicle price.
Shane, if you use the second page of the application form for a second application, is it okay that the date signed will be before the application date?
Yeah, what I just say is maybe on the second page, just put a note at the end to say this is to replace application ID, and put in the original. Just put a handwritten note on it, so we'll just know. It shouldn't be an issue. But if it ever is, you can tell. You come back to me and tell me that, but it shouldn't be an issue. Just put a note that's a previous application that you're using. That's fine.
Thanks, Emer. Sean wants to know, what will the EV dealership regional winners win?
Yeah, no problem. So they will get a certificate, they will get a wall-mounted plaque, and they will get financial support towards helping them promote their award win. And we're looking at the possibility of possibly having some form of an advert in a regional paper for them as well.
Thanks, Shane. Caroline wants to know, when you're applying for the grant and you have uploaded all the company details and you keep getting an error that they are out of date, how do you rectify this?
Yeah, so that's when, basically every year you will have to update your tax detail, your motor tax details and your insurance details on the grant system. So you just upload a new document, your new tax, your new motor tax details, and then your new insurance documentation for public liability, employers, etc. And then we will approve it. So they have to be in date for us to be for you to be able to apply for grants. So if you are having any issues with that, please let us know, but you should be just able to update it. We'll review them and approve it. And once it's approved, you can go back to making applications.
Okay, that brings us, hang on a minute, Imelda's sneaking back in. I'm unable to register a demo at the minute. I'm waiting for the last 48 hours. Maybe that's when we can look at for you.
Yeah.
Is that registering it with us or registering it with the revenue is the question.
I wonder, is that to do with the tax and insurance certificates to get access to actually put in the grant application? Would that be it, Imelda? Yeah, so
You just, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we will get that actioned as soon as we possibly can, so you can register the demo. So if you want to send one of us our EV grant scheme an email with your supplier ID, we can look into that and get it actioned.
Unless anyone else has any questions in their private inboxes, that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Anyone else out there got any more questions for us? Now's the time to type.
Yeah, sure. We'll stay here for another couple of minutes just in case anything pops into anyone's head that they would like to ask. And just so that y'all know, we will pull all these questions together into an FAQ document with the answers, and we will circulate along with the slides and the recording in the next, I would imagine, the next week or so. So I think there's another question in there. So if an application is made in December 2022 for January 2023, it will actually be valid because we have removed the end cap since the budget was announced. So we are actually open for taking 2023 commitments to grants. So yes, if you put in an application in December 2022, it will be available and will be valid for 2023. So if you just check on your letter of offer and you received the actual grant expiry date, or you can go into your application search screen, find the application ID number and look at the expiry date on it. And if it says 2023, then it's valid in 2023. If it says 2022 is the expiry date, then it won't be valid in 2023.
Another question there from Dara, does the trade-in go into the deduction VRT line?
The trade-in value would go in there. It would be automatically calculated in there. So if you had a 20,000 left for a customer to pay and the trade-in value was 10,000, you would put 20,000 into the green entry box, which if I can recall, is item E in the pricing detail screen, and that would auto-populate that 10,000 deduction into the other deductions.
Is there a faster way to search the application number rather than just the drop-down?
Yep, there is. If you go into your grant application search screen, there should be a row at the top of that has white boxes across each column, or just under each column heading, and you can just type in a name, you can type in the application ID number, and so on, and it will actually go straight to that person, that application ID, whatever it is, and you will have access to it straight away there. I'll just give it another minute, and if there's no other questions coming in, then we might draw it to a close, but we'll give you one more moment. Said we will collate all these questions and answers into a sheet, and we will send it out with the circular.
Haley wants to know, is there or can there be an option to delete cancel grants off screen?
I presume, Haley, you're referring to an option to, say, request a cancellation through the actual screen itself, the actual system itself, rather than an email. It is something we are looking at currently, and as soon as we can provide an update on that, we will.
Just to say, I don't know if you mean if you want to obviously remove, if a grant is cancelled on your list, to delete that from your screen. You can't, because it was a grant offer, so it's just kept there for audit purposes, so it'll always be there. You can always search by your application status if you want, so you can look for all your paid ones. It'll just show your paid ones, but you can't actually, if you've received an offer of a grant and then it's been cancelled, that cannot be deleted. It'll stay on the list.
And Michelle wants to know, so once you've done 40 applications at €5,000 each, you won't get paid any more money for 3 years?
Well, just to start, the 5,000 grant is actually for private, and the de minimis state aid rule does not apply to private grants to start with. It's actually the 3,800 grant, the commercial grant, and the demo grant. So that actually equates to 52 vehicles that can be granted in a 3-year period. And yes, you are correct. If you utilize the full amount of that €200,000 on the de minimis state aid in a 3-year period until the turn of that calendar year has been reached, you will not be able to gain another grant under that VAT number. So if you have 52 demo vehicles that you've received a grant for, is since in the last 3 years, so since 2020, you would have to now wait until 2023 is here before you can open up and some more headspace under that de minimis state aid rule ceiling. So whatever you would have received in 2020, whether it be 1, 2, 5, 25, that would then open up in 2023 when you get to the 1st of January 2023.
Dolores wants to know, when applying for the grant, how or where do you reflect the VRT relief on the application?
Yep, so on the pricing section in the grant application, the VRT relief will be automatically calculated into item D, I think it is, on the pricing section. So once you put in your starting price, any cash discount, and your final price the customer is actually going to pay, the system itself will automatically calculate the combined total of any deductions that are involved in the sale as well. But it is important, and I just re-emphasize again, that final price that the customer must match and collate across to the invoice price that you're charging your customer as well.
There's a couple of people just wanting to clarify that that ceiling will only apply for demo vehicles and not to retail customers.
To commercial retail customers it will, because they operate
Yes.
with a VAT number as well. So private individuals, so your standard person on the street who goes in to buy a car off you, the de minimis does not apply to them. That's a private purchase. However, if it was, say, a company down the road looking to buy a couple of vans off you, then yes, the de minimis does apply to them, but it applies to that customer. It doesn't apply to yourself. For the dealerships on their own, it is only the demo vehicles that will be counted under your state aid de minimis, unless you've received state aid funding that's separate to this grant program.
And it's the VAT number we use to calculate that. So for the garage and demo, it's your VAT number. For a commercial customer, it's the commercial customer's VAT number, and that has to be input into the grant system.
So hopefully that might clear up demo and the de minimis state aid issue for you. If you have any other questions on that, feel free to pop them in there and we'll deal with them now. So
yeah, some good questions so far. Just if anyone else has any more.
And just on, as Shane did mention, just to reiterate that when you get to within 5 of your de minimis limit, the system will do a pop-up and say 5, and then you'll know 4. And if you have applications that are at letter of offer as a dealership for demos that you're not going to get, if you ask us to cancel them, that will give you those numbers back into your de minimis calculator. So if you have a couple of demos sitting there and you know you're not going to get them, you can ask us to cancel them and you'll get those ones back.
right, so I'm going to do last call for questions then, and we'll give it another few seconds, see if anyone's typing anything in at the moment, and if not, we might call it to a close then. I think we've a couple of minutes left before 12 o'clock, so if anyone has any questions, wants to throw them in there, just let us know now. Or if you have any questions that you think of after this webinar has been completed, feel free to reach out to any one of the team here or EV Grant Scheme and SEAI directly, and we'll answer the questions anyway at all that we can. Right, so I don't see anything else coming through, so I might draw this to a close, and I'd like to thank you all for joining today and taking the time, and hopefully you've learned something or we've been able to answer some burning questions that you may have, and we look forward to dealing with you as we move forward again. So if you've any other questions or anything, as I said, feel free to submit them via email or give us a bell on the phone, and we will circulate in the next week or so the FAQ sheet that we'll collate. We will circulate the recording of this, and we will also circulate the slides with that too. So thank you very much again for your time today. It's very much appreciated, and we look forward to working with you as we move forward. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you.